Think you've seen all the corners where horror hides? Think again. The scariest elements often lurk at the edges of the frame, unnoticed by characters and unseen by casual viewers. Shadows that shouldn't exist, fleeting faces in reflections, shapes that vanish in later editions, all of these intrusions leave a trace that lingers longer than any jump scare. For decades, cinephiles have paused and scrutinized films frame by frame, searching for anomalies that defy explanation. Editors blame light and exposure, cinematographers suggest accidental reflections, and directors deny anything beyond the script. Yet some images survive, fleeting and inexplicable, present in original prints and fading or disappearing in remastered releases. They raise the question, what is reality in cinema when the camera captures the uninvited? Imagine a fleeting figure that appears and disappears, a shape whose presence is undeniable yet entirely unexplained. These moments exist outside narrative control, outside intention, and yet they haunt the audience. They are not staged scares or narrative tricks. They are intrusions, captured in motionless glimpses or barely a frame long, yet persistently unsettling. Tonight, we explore 15 horror films containing these uninvited frames. Scenes that escaped scripting, people who should not have existed in the set, presences never acknowledged by cast or crew, yet immortalized in celluloid. These are glimpses into the unintended, the unseen, and the inexplicable. Let's venture into the darkness. Fact 1. Don't go to sleep. 1982. In Don't Go to Sleep, a late-night tracking shot across a dimly lit living room captures a fleeting, impossible figure. The set is empty, yet a childlike silhouette dashes across the doorway, moving with unnatural speed and low to the ground. Its appearance is sharp and precise, preserved in original broadcast recordings, but cropped or removed in later releases. Crew testimonies confirm no extras were present, and lighting effects cannot explain the movement. The figure's brief intrusion creates a sudden and profound sense of unease, lingering longer than any scripted scare. It is a presence the camera caught by chance, or perhaps something beyond explanation. This moment epitomizes the uninvited intrusion, horror that exists not in action, but in a fleeting anomaly that challenges viewers to question what is real within the cinematic world. It is a subtle, persistent echo that remains in memory long after the scene ends. Fact 2. Terror in the Aisles. 1984. Even in a compilation of horror clips, anomalies can emerge. During a long tracking shot in an empty theater, the camera glides across the seats while the screen flickers. In the back row, a pale, barely discernible face appears, looking directly toward the camera. Its presence is brief, subtle, and entirely inconsistent with the controlled environment. No extras were present, and the lighting was designed to prevent reflections or unintended shadows. Early television recordings reveal the face more clearly, while later remasters obscure it slightly. The figure exists independently of the narrative, creating an eerie sense of surveillance and uninvited observation. This small, unnoticed detail transforms a simple interlude into a moment of tension. Horror here is not scripted, it resides in the unexpected, captured by the lens, and preserved for viewers patient enough to spot it. Fact 3. Ghost Keeper. 1981. Isolation permeates Ghost Keeper, with its remote winter lodge and long, empty corridors. In one interior scene, 3 characters occupy the frame, while a 4th figure briefly appears in the far corner, partially hidden by tools and equipment. The shape remains motionless, silent, and completely unacknowledged by the cast, yet it is visible to the camera. The production was tightly controlled, with only the principal actors present, and safety protocols ensured minimal personnel in small shooting areas. Despite these constraints, early prints capture the figure clearly, blending unnaturally into the shadows. Later, home media softens the anomaly, but it is never fully erased, leaving a spectral presence behind the scene. This intruding figure does not advance the story, nor does it interact with any other elements, but its quiet observation injects a subtle, unnerving tension. It demonstrates how horror can exist beyond narrative design, a fleeting intruder caught on film that continues to haunt viewers long after the moment passes. Fact 4. The House Where Evil Dwells. 1982. In a storm-laden exterior of The House Where Evil Dwells, the camera pans across fog drifting through the trees. Within the mist, a head-like shape appears briefly, forming and retracting with an eerie fluidity. The shape suggests features, a brow and jawline subtly defined, though no extras or props could account for it. Production records confirm no personnel near the fog machines during filming, making the intrusion all the more unsettling. Early theatrical prints display the shape clearly. Home video versions diminish it slightly, but it cannot be erased. Its presence is fleeting yet impactful, a reminder that sometimes horror resides not in action but in the unintended. The figure does not interact with the storm or the protagonist, but persists as a silent, enigmatic observer, enhancing the atmosphere of unease without any narrative explanation. Fact 5. Burnt offerings, 1970. There is a controlled stillness in burnt offerings, a sense that the house has its own silent observers. One scene in particular underscores this impression. As the lead character moves through a narrow hallway, the camera follows at a measured distance, allowing the ambient quiet to settle. When she passes a tall mirror mounted on the wall, the reflection reveals what appears to be a figure standing far behind her, unmoving, blurred by the glass, yet unmistakably present. Production reports state that the hallway was small, with only enough room for the actress and a single camera operator. Lighting was minimal and fixed, leaving no shaded recess where someone could stand unnoticed. Yet the reflected silhouette seems positioned in an area that physically does not exist. The camera's angle does not match the geometry of the real corridor. The anomaly's stillness is what draws the eye. It lacks the jitter of lens flare, the distortion of imperfect glass, or the smear of motion blur. Instead, it holds a kind of quiet poise, as though the figure is composed of shadows more than substance. In modern remasters, the shape becomes soft, waning at the edges, but it remains discernible enough to provoke continued debate among enthusiasts. Archivists who study early prints point out that the figure maintains consistent proportions across versions, suggesting that whatever it is, it was captured in camera rather than introduced by damage or later manipulation. The scene offers no resolution. The character continues walking, unaware. The camera moves on, as if unwilling to acknowledge what the mirror revealed. The effect is subtle, psychological, and deeply disquieting, as though the house has momentarily allowed the viewer to glimpse one of its hidden occupants. Fact 6. The Changeling, 1980. In The Changeling, long corridors and empty rooms build a persistent sense of isolation. Yet in one hallway sequence, a shadow appears that cannot be attributed to the actor or crew. As the protagonist walks, a smaller, childlike shadow emerges beside him, tilting slightly as if observing his movement before vanishing almost immediately. The effect is subtle, captured for barely a frame, yet it unsettles even the most attentive viewers. Production logs confirm only the actor and camera operator were present. The lighting design eliminates the possibility of stray shadows or reflections, and no objects were placed to cast a false shape. Despite this, early prints reveal the shadow clearly. Later releases soften or crop it, but the image lingers in collector versions. The fleeting presence does not interact with the environment or the actor. Its existence outside planned action exemplifies how horror sometimes emerges unbidden, caught not in the narrative but in the margins of the frame. Fact 7. The Entity, 1982. In The Entity, a laboratory measurement scene captures an anomaly that eludes explanation. Behind the protagonist, a faint humanoid glow seems to mirror her breathing, forming an outline that corresponds to no actor or object in the room. It is diffuse yet structured, suggesting a presence not intended by the production team. No extras were present, and lighting could not have created the effect. Remastered editions retain the glow faintly, proving it was captured in camera. The presence evokes unease, watching silently without movement or interaction. It transforms a clinical space into one of subtle intrusion, reminding audiences that sometimes horror is most effective when it is uninvited, observed, and unexplainable. Fact 8. Dead and Buried, 1981. Within the controlled interiors of Dead and Buried, a quiet shot of a shuttered store conceals a figure moving subtly in the reflection of a display case. As the protagonist crosses the frame, the shadowy shape glides independently, its motion inconsistent with any actor or crew member. The deliberate stillness of the surrounding environment accentuates the intrusion. The set was secured, only the principal cast was present, and lighting was positioned to prevent reflections. Early prints preserve the figure, while later home media slightly blurs the anomaly, but it is never fully erased. Its presence is passive yet intensely unsettling, demonstrating that horror can manifest in a frame without narrative justification. This small, silent intrusion exemplifies the uninvited elements that make cinema unsettling. Even in a routine background, something unplanned can amplify dread, reminding viewers that what is unseen may be as important as what is scripted. Fact 9. Communion, 1989. Communion thrives on a disorienting, dreamlike atmosphere, but a subtle anomaly in a quiet living room scene has sparked years of intrigue. As the protagonist moves past a cluttered bookcase, a pale, elongated face emerges in the reflection of a framed photograph. It appears for just a heartbeat, motionless and silent, yet unmistakably human. The shot was designed with no extras behind the camera, and lighting conditions make accidental reflections unlikely. Early VHS releases display the face clearly, while later remasters obscure it. Crew members maintain that no one else was present, and no prop or reflection could account for the image. The uninvited presence feels deliberate in its indifference, neither interacting with the protagonist nor affecting the scene's environment, yet it is compellingly eerie. The anomaly exemplifies how horror can creep into a frame without narrative intent, a reminder that some of the most unsettling elements occur outside the story's design. The brief appearance lingers long after the scene ends, leaving viewers with an impression of observation rather than action. Fact 10. Ghost Story 1981. Ghost Story excels in crafting long, tension-filled sequences, yet one exterior shot contains an unexplained figure at a second-floor window. Standing perfectly still and facing outward, the silhouette appears in a location unoccupied according to production record. The alignment with the window is precise, making it impossible to attribute to reflections, shadows, or any known crew member. Early theatrical prints maintain the figure's clarity, while later transfers soften it but do not fully remove the presence. The static figure, detached from the characters and narrative, creates a subtle but profound unease. Its uninvited appearance transforms a scenic exterior into a space haunted by something outside the story, a reminder that horror often exists in the moments that are unplanned, unnoticed, and unexplained. Fact 11. The Appointment 1981. The Appointment is known for its tension-driven pacing, but one driving scene contains a subtle intrusion that defies logic. As the protagonist navigates a deserted road, a childlike silhouette briefly appears in the rearview mirror behind her. No extras were present, and the back seat was empty during filming, leaving the appearance entirely unaccounted for by the production team. The original broadcast captures the figure, yet later releases obscure or remove it. Crew members insist no one was positioned behind the camera, and the lighting setup cannot account for a reflection. The figure's sudden, isolated appearance unsettles viewers, producing a lingering sense of unease beyond the narrative's intentions. It is not an active threat, but a passive intrusion, a presence that exists outside the planned action, visible only to the camera. The effect is disorienting, forcing the audience to question what is real within the cinematic world, and reminding them that horror sometimes hides in the unanticipated. Fact Dove Blood Sabbath 1970. In the dense, foggy woods of Blood Sabbath, an innocuous transitional shot hides a fleeting anomaly that has intrigued viewers for decades. As a character passes a gnarled tree, a pale arm suddenly emerges from behind the trunk, fingers stretching into the frame for a brief instant before vanishing. Its sudden appearance interrupts the otherwise mundane shot, leaving an unexplainable visual imprint that lingers in memory. Production logs indicate that only the actor and a minimal crew were present during filming. The lighting was intentionally limited, and no props or stand-ins could have created the effect. Yet the original theatrical prints display the arm clearly, while later home video releases blur or remove it entirely. Its presence remains one of the most discussed mysteries among cult horror enthusiasts. The anomaly defies easy explanation. Was it a flaw in the film stock, a camera artifact, or an uninvited presence captured by chance? Regardless of its origin, this brief intrusion transforms a simple forest scene into a moment of subtle, persistent unease, reminding audiences that horror can hide in what was never intended to be seen. Fact 13. The Mediator 1979. In The Mediator, tension builds in confined, shadowy corridors, yet a single tracking shot hides a remarkable anomaly. As the protagonist moves through a narrow hallway, a shadowy figure glides behind him, moving at a speed that defies explanation. Its trajectory is smooth, deliberate, and inconsistent with the positions of the actors and crew. Only 3 individuals were present on set during filming, and the corridor's lighting and blocking should have prevented any unnoticed motion. Despite this, multiple surviving prints preserve the figure, demonstrating that the anomaly is not a fleeting film defect but something captured intentionally by the lens or perhaps beyond anyone's intention. Observers note that the figure does not interact with the environment or the actor, nor does it cast realistic shadows. It appears as a form within the frame, lingering just long enough to unsettle attentive viewers. This small intrusion, imperceptible without careful observation, exemplifies how horror can manifest in ways beyond script or direction, leaving audiences haunted by the uninvited. Fact 14. The Hearse, 1980. The hearse constructs dread with deliberate pacing and fog-draped landscapes, yet one brief shot introduces an element that defies explanation. During a nighttime drive past a vacant mansion, a figure appears at a second-story window, standing motionless and staring toward the camera. The sequence lasts only a few frames, yet the presence is striking, seemingly aware of the protagonist and camera simultaneously. Crew testimonies assert that only the lead actress and minimal personnel were present. The house remained locked, and no lighting could account for the figure's visibility. Later versions of the film obscure or remove the apparition entirely, leaving early prints as the only record. Its unplanned intrusion has generated decades of discussion among fans and archivists, a rare visual that appears neither in the script nor in the official shooting notes. The effect is disquieting not because it actively scares, but because it exists independently of narrative intention. The intruding figure appears as a silent observer, a reminder that in horror, some moments are unsettling precisely because they are uninvited. Fact 15. The Boogeyman, 1980. Few horror films evoke a lingering sense of unease like The Boogeyman, yet within one unassuming bedroom scene lies an anomaly that has puzzled audiences for decades. As the camera pans across a mirror reflecting the two protagonists, a third face materializes, fleeting yet unmistakable. Its sudden appearance interrupts the intended reflection, creating an unsettling intrusion that viewers can barely catch on a casual watch. Production notes confirm that only the lead actors were present during this shot, and no extras were scheduled for that sequence. The lighting arrangement and mirror placement leave little room for reflections or optical artifacts. Crew members maintain that no deliberate addition occurred, insisting the appearance is an unexplained artifact of filming. Intriguingly, this anomaly appears only in the original theatrical prints. Subsequent VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray releases either obscure or remove it entirely. Speculation surrounding the figure is persistent. Could it have been an unnoticed crew member, an error in the film stock, or a phenomenon beyond the comprehension of the production team? Regardless, the mirror scene continues to haunt viewers. The reflection captures more than the character's fear. It immortalizes a presence no one intended to record, a fleeting glimpse of the uninvited captured by the lens. Bonus film, The Sentinel, 1977. Before we conclude, here is one more film to consider, The Sentinel. The movie is steeped in quiet dread, and in one hallway sequence, an anomaly emerges that defies explanation. As the protagonist walks through a dim corridor, a pale, static face appears briefly in a partially open doorway. Its gaze is fixed on the camera, unblinking, and entirely independent of the cast or narrative. Production records confirm that only the lead and minimal crew were present, and the doorway remained unoccupied. Lighting and camera angles eliminate the possibility of reflections or optical artifacts, yet the figure appears in early theatrical print. Later restorations blur the shape slightly, but it is never fully removed, leaving an uninvited presence preserved in celluloid. The intrusion is passive yet profoundly unsettling. It does not interact with the protagonist or affect the scene's intended composition, but its presence is enough to transform an ordinary hallway into a site of lingering unease. Viewers sense an observer that should not exist, an element outside the story that imposes itself onto the film's reality. Even amidst a narrative of supernatural threat and impending doom, the uninvited figure demonstrates how horror often resides not in what is planned, but in what is captured inadvertently, haunting the audience long after the scene has passed. Its fleeting, enigmatic appearance makes it one of the most memorable and disturbing intrusions in the cinematic history of horror. If you've followed these 15 uninvited moments to the end, you already know that the most unsettling horrors are often the ones no one meant to show. Which of these hidden intrusions stayed with you the longest? Do you believe they were simple oversights, visual coincidences, or something far stranger slipping onto the film unnoticed? If exploring these shadows between frames draws you in, stay close, there are more hidden corners waiting.